Alright, T-Rex82 here. Welcome back to another Empyrion Galactic Creators Studio update. Today we're going to be looking at a collaboration that I'm doing with JRandall. It's something that I'm very excited about. He's been a builder or an author that I really looked up to. A lot of my style has come from him. So I had reached out to him last week and asked him if that he possibly wanted to do a collaboration. It just so happened that I was working on a tank. And he was working on an SV, and I had asked him if that he wanted to do a collaboration for a docking situation. So what he did was he sent over some schematics as far as block height, block size, and I thought to myself, I'm like, well, actually what I'm building might actually fit into that. I didn't think it was going to be as exact as it was, with the exception of the extremely thin blocks that I had on the top and side. It was exactly the same dimensions as his SV. So we settled on the MCRN color scheme that I love. Actually, this is something that these colors work really well together, and it just looks mean, and I really like it. And I'm happy with the way this is coming out. One thing I had to do was kind of just go back and forth between his build and mine and do a little bit of shaping to kind of match it. My goal is that I want to make this look as seamless as possible. So for instance, the way he slopes down back here on this leg of this, what I wanted to do was make sure that I matched that. So I ended up changing the back just slightly and tried to match it with the same exact slope, do the same blocks, and make it look similar. And the thing that really stood out to me is that this thing looks like it's in motion even sitting still. And that's what I like the most about it. It kind of reminds me of the old 1930s, 1940s cars that have those giant wheel covers over the sides, but this thing just looks aggressive now. So I couldn't be happier with it. I think it's going in the right direction, and I'm really excited about this. I hope that he likes it as much as I do his SV, because this has been a dream come true so far. If you guys like what you see, obviously hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. But I am in a predicament. As of right now, this is sitting at Tier 3, in the very upper range of Tier 3. We're sitting at 29,454. This does have a shield. Problem is, it only has a shield and it is light armor. I do have this capable of upgrading to a Tier 4. My thoughts on that are, earlier on, you can use it on the easier POIs. You should be able to pop in, take out the turrets, pop back out, recover the shield, go back in, that kind of a thing. It's going to get more difficult as you get further into the game, and then you start dropping that shield, and then you start taking hits. So my thought here is, I think I'm going to remove a couple of the thruster, or the hover engines that are on the bottom of this. Aesthetically, I loved it, but it's not that functional. So I might remove a couple because they're 200 a piece in CPU. So if I remove 4 of them, then I'm looking at 800 additional CPU that I can use to apply towards maybe doing some combat armor on certain parts of this tank. And what I mean by that is, for instance, like this front end. I want to have this shielding on here be combat armor, because this is what's going to take the hit. This tank is designed to be forward facing, downrange, taking hits head on, like a bull. So I want to make sure this front end is protected. What I might also do is do kind of the sides of the thruster housings, give them a little bit more protection, and just some weak spots in the hull. I'm not going to do the whole thing in combat steel. I think that would be overkill. It will really add to the weight. Currently this thing is sitting at I believe it's 45,000. Let's take a look. It's currently sitting at 44 tons, excuse me. And after talking to JRandall, his SV, he said, is capable of lifting 80 tons, but that's at its max limit. So I got to keep in mind that he's going to have cargo. He's got a 29,000 cargo capacity on his SV. I originally went into this thinking that I want to do a 1-to-1 so that you could have whatever you have on the tank transfer to the SV. But under actual thought of that, I don't think it's necessary, because if you're playing with somebody else, you're both going to be in the same area. So once you actually take down that POI, you can load up both of these. So what I've done with this is I've also started working on the interior, which you'll see here. I have a lot more texturing to do, more details that I want to put in, kind of break up those flat spaces. But this only has about a 10,000 or so cargo capacity. It's not the greatest, but again, this is supposed to be a tank. This is not a hauler. It's going to have its one purpose. So I really like the way it's going. And what's really helping me is breaking down JRandall's texturing style. It's very different than mine in a lot of ways. So he's a bit more random with where he places things, where I'd usually approach things like I'd have things in sequence. I'd have a lot of the same textures in the same line. But if you look at his, it's very haphazard, and it works. It just gives it that extra little something that it needs. And I still have to add more to this. I'm not going to do the whole thing completely in textures, and that's something that I usually do on a lot of my builds, and I do overkill it. So I'm going to pull back a little bit, but try to add in a few things here and there. But this is where we are so far with the interior. We've got a drone hatch up top. I had to make sure that I had this the same on both sides. So weirdly enough, this only requires 2 of the generators and 2 fuel tanks. That's it. With those 2, I can get about an hour and a half worth of actual time with this, which is plenty. It's low on fuel consumption, which is great. So moving forward, this is where your shield is going to be. I did have a cover over this. Problem with that is that with that cover, the game still renders it as a full block or close to a full block, and your head will actually catch on it, and you can't walk straight through. So I got to figure something out there. I can't go up, can't go down. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm probably just going to basically rely on the texturing portion of that to kind of bring it to life. Because right now it's a shield in a hole, and that's it. But we'll make it work. Not a problem. So you get your Pentexid tank here, kind of attached. And I was testing on this to see what it was like when you're walking around. And surprisingly enough, turn that on, I'm not getting any radiation from this. I was when I had it down on the floor, but for some reason when I'm below it, I don't get any radiation from it at all. So perfect. Love it. This is literally the only place that I could put the detector. For as big as this SV or this HV is, its current shape doesn't support this to be mounted externally. So I put it behind the seat. It gives it a little bit more of a, I don't know, an interesting factor, if you want to call it that. Just the way it looks. So it's all right. I'm not thrilled with it, but I think it'll do the trick just fine. But there are some other blocks and things that I want, transitions that I want to put in here, some more texturing, that kind of a thing. And we're going to do that in this video. So the idea with this video is I'm hoping to button this up. You're going to see me bouncing back and forth between JRandall's SV and my own, taking elements from his and putting it in mine. Because the goal for me was to make this look like a JRandall build. I want this to look like they both go together seamlessly. It's a big package, and I want it to be almost indistinguishable. So let's just jump right in and see what else we can do with this today. All right, let's go. right, so there we have it. I think I can call it finished. I've gotten to a point where I can't really do any more. I'm sitting 10 CPU away from tier 4, which it is upgradable to, but I wanted to keep this around the tier 3 range to start, just to match with the SV. I was able to fit in the armor, the combat armor, around the front of the vessel. The whole front is done, around the sides of the thruster housings, just to give it a little bit more protection. I did have to severely cut down on the amount of cargo, but again, this isn't supposed to be a hauler. This is just supposed to be brute force, a bull in the china shop kind of thing. I'm happy with it. What can I say? I like the way it came out. I did just notice a problem, actually, and I'm assuming this is probably going to be fixed in the future, but on this foundation, which is considered a base, as long as the SV is docked to that, I cannot dock the HV to the SV. So I had to lift it up off the ground just slightly, just so I can get the HV to lift up and attach to the bottom. Not a big deal. So I think I'm done. I think that's it. Let me know what you think down in the comments. This was a very, very fun build, and I was very excited to be able to do this with JRandall. I'm going to go ahead and send this off to him. We may do a couple other tweaks, and we'll take it from there, but keep an eye out. Till next time, keep your heads above the hard deck, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.